Welcome to the Dumb Fan Dipshits podcast. I am Mike. That is Ryan. We are your dipshits of this evening. I almost had it perfect until I fuck up that whatever.
I think it's just sort of as part of the tradition, to not ever get it, because the day you get it, it'll just suck. It'll just suck.
The day I get it is when the bombs drop. So how's everyone doing this lovely evening?
Happy Wednesday, y'all. Hump day, motherfucker. Better light them up if you got them. Smoke them if you got them, motherfuckers, because it's about to blow. It's about to blow up in here. And when I mean blow, I mean suck. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, fucking Iceland's about to explode. They all said Yellowstone, for years, but it's like Iceland's gonna beat them.
And isn't Iceland closer to New York? So I said that cloud might come this way. We might be fucked.
I don't know how does that. I know like the wind blows typically, like the jet stream goes in like west to east. So wouldn't it like blow over Europe? Like wouldn't it like blow over northern Europe?
That'd be great.
That would be great. Dude, that'd be great for
great
all
for
those
me.
Norwegians, for all those Swedes and Norwegians. Not like it's already like it isn't already depressing as shit in there like most of the time with the weather, but it would just be complete overcast all the time. I think like all over Norway, Finland, Sweden, Denmark, Poland, probably parts of Russia. Like if the wind does blow in that direction,
that'd be incredible. If the wind blows, it skips all the countries, goes right to Russia, and Russia's like, oh fuck us.
Well, I think it's like the part of Russia it would land over. Not many people live there anyway. It's not like it would go over. Oh, maybe it would go over Moscow. What do I know? I'm not a meteorologist. I don't know.
You're not?
I'm not.
Oh wow, I didn't know.
I just like listening to other people talk about crazy science shit, like volcanoes about to explode in Iceland. Which sucks because that was for me, bucket list destination, Iceland. Why did you incite us?
That was a premonition of what's to come.
I was like, the show's not over yet, Mike. That's the end of the show.
He's ending it already.
God damn, Mike, that was a quick one.
Why is this here?
This after we've been running almost fucking 2-hour shows.
The shortest show ever.
The shortest
3 minutes and 50 seconds.
It's gonna be like, what's up? Lovely. Thanks being with us, dipshits. All right, the show's over, and then that's it, and then we're at.
So what does this guy have to say? You sent this to me. I don't know what this is.
It's old. It's November 11th.
Talking about that solar storm that all of a sudden all the news outlets are talking about, which they're saying is going to wipe out our internet for potentially months. Interesting. Or maybe you're referring to the fact that Iceland has declared a state of emergency after a swarm of earthquakes. That's what they're calling it. Like hundreds or thousands of earthquakes hit right by this big volcano. There's evacuations taking place. Stay tuned and stay safe if you're in Iceland. Fire departments and emergency personnel battling an uncontained pallet yard fire just under the 10E highway in the center of Los Angeles.
That's right. That pallet fire. Now they found out I sent this to you before they found out what it is. It was arson. Somebody set that shit on fire. Did you see? We should pull up a video of the pallet fire.
Hold on. Let me finish what he's saying, and then I'll bring up the pallet.
Okay.
Maybe you're talking about how we almost made it to the #1 spot. My novel, Confessions of a Middle-Aged White Man, link in bio. Buy it as a Christmas present for your husband or boyfriend today.
What?
It's a great novel. But nah. Well, what then? Taylor Swift says she's falling in love again. In love with money, am I right? Mitch McConnell. Did you hear the news?
Hold on. I'm going to bring this up.
The pallet fire. Yes. There was
okay, I don't really see. Is this it? That's not really that bad. That's
the aftermath. It's not burning there. There was that whole empty space was filled with wooden pallets. And the flames are coming up. You got to get the video of the flames coming up over the fucking highway.
Oh wow.
Yeah, bro.
That's a little more intense. So I was recently watching the movie 2012 with John Cusack and
yes.
a few other people. Yeah. Anyway, and I'm like watching this, and I go, wait, isn't this what's currently happening right now? Like we're getting all these crazy earthquakes and all these. It's happening a lot slower because in real life, it's not going to happen instantly where everything gets fucked up
Yeah.
instantly. But it's happening pretty slowly, but it's still kind of happening.
Like you're never gonna. You're all right. Disaster movies are a spectacle because they make it all happen in an hour and a half.
Ooh, someone reacted with the angry face.
Why? It's because that guy obviously has a Canadian accent, right?
I
A
don't know.
boot? A boot?
What are you talking about?
Is there a boot?
But anyway, so that's a pretty big fire. A pretty big fire. So what? Just a bunch of pallets?
No, but the thing is that shit can melt the highway. I think that might be that same. You remember that same shit that happened in Pennsylvania, where it was like the tanker or something like fucking melted the highway.
I mean, look at this damage right here. It's pretty fucking.
Well, the thing is,
pretty fucking bad.
All that covering over, I think the pilings is supposed to stop it from burning. It's supposed to be some sort
The asbestos coating.
Fire retardant. Well, I don't know if they can't use that shit anymore, but
no, they don't use asbestos anymore. But
something like it. Well, it's just this is what happened with asbestos. Right. Let's be honest. They found something else that they just don't know if it causes cancer now or not, but they're using it because it hasn't given anybody cancer yet. So that's why they use it.
Eventually, that like it doesn't give you cancer, but it makes you infertile.
Well, yeah, or it could still give you cancer, like asbestos. Asbestos. They didn't find out that it was really linked to cancer on the large scale until like 100 years after they started using it.
Something funny to bring up is I remember months ago. When I say months ago, I mean probably over a decade ago. And when I say over a decade ago, probably like 15 years ago.
15 years ago, okay.
There was an article that said coffee causes cancer or coffee linked to cancer. Then 10 years later, there was coffee may protect you from cancer.
Or Alzheimer's. Or now it's Alzheimer's.
Well, now it's Alzheimer's, yes. Yeah. So I'm just like, so why not just say we don't? It should be just in. We don't fucking know what coffee does, but you won't sleep.
Or maybe it's all. Yeah, you'll shit. You'll shit and you won't sleep. You'll shit and you won't sleep. But I told propaganda though, right? Is it like who's pro and who's not? He makes a really good point. I said this to you. He made a really good point, and we all do this to each other.
Well. Okay.
All men do this to each other.
The reason why I think he's one of the GOATs is because he takes something that is a very good point and makes it funny. Like the whole thing is you never hit a woman, but and here's reasons why you should. I mean, the joke was there's no reason to hit a woman. And he goes, of course there's a reason to hit a woman. I can think of 5 off the top of my head. I'm not saying you should do it, but I'm saying I can think of 5 reasons why.
I think he was at UFC on Saturday night too. He played the Garden the night after, I think on Sunday.
Oh, that's epic. I should have. I don't have money, but still.
If you love somebody, you're going to have to remind yourself that I should be nice to him. Right? You know who really needs to do that? Women. Yeah. How not nice you guys are is why guys are so funny. It's the humor. Guys are funny because of the collective hopelessness of our situation. And that's what we do. We don't even I don't even have to know you or you or you. We just, in certain situations, we can just look at each other and that's it. And even if my relationship is going good, I'm going to fucking laugh my ass off. My wife's like, what are you laughing at? I'm like, nothing. I'll tell you later. And my laugh is what's going to help that person in its knowing. Even if you...
It's okay. I can't think of the entire...
It's not spider sense. It's not spider sense, but it's almost like spider sense.
So true. Today, was it today? My days are starting to blend, but one of these days I was doing deliveries. I'm in an elevator with a husband and wife fighting. And I don't even know what they're arguing about, but she sounds like basically a whiny cunt. And
tell me how you really feel, Mike.
And it was just there was this moment where like me and him locked eyes and we just both went like that good old. Like we both know each other. I know your pain, bro, and he's like, I know.
It's like the Ben Affleck smoking outside with a frown meme.
Yes, that's incredible.
It's one of the most relatable things.
Yes,
I really feel like he was probably outside of a children's birthday party when that happened. I'm not. Don't quote me on that. But it looked like he was outside of the ball pit building at a children's birthday party, like 5 to 7 year olds. You know.
5, the worst kind. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
It's like 5 to 7 is like physically small enough not to do so much damage, but still big enough to continuously do damage. You know?
What is this? Is this?
Elbowed in the back, and it kind of caught me off guard because it was a clean shot to the kidneys, and I turned
Yes.
back. There was Kevin.
I did not run and hit the guy. I did not kidney punch him. I did not shoot anything like that.
You didn't shove him.
No.
I think he did. But I digress. It's schoolyard tactics in
So
a very
hold on, hold on.
schoolyard environment.
For those-
it's a
for
very
those-
schoolyard
For
environment.
those who don't know what we're talking about, I don't even know what we're talking about, to be honest. You want to tell us what we're
Yes.
talking about?
All right. So, former House Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy,
Who was speaker for like a week, right? He was speaker for
a
like
few weeks, maybe a couple months. Not long. He elbowed.
allegedly.
Allegedly
elbowed.
elbowed the kidneys of that first gentleman that was at the beginning of the interview.
Is he also a congressman or?
Yes, yeah. Also, yeah, his colleague, and apparently he elbowed him while he was walking past him. So it's getting dirty on Capitol Hill. And I was talking to you about this before we started the pod, and there was also another occurrence. This happened yesterday, I believe. There was also another occurrence that happened yesterday on Capitol Hill between, I believe it was a congressional committee, sort of like I don't know what they call them, like when they question somebody.
A committee, or I think it's
Yeah.
a committee.
And they had the president of the Teamsters Union, and one of the congressmen called him out to fight. Like they said, they both agreed to go outside and take care of business. I'm not sure if that's exactly
Okay, let's see if we can find that. Let's see if we can find that.
Yes,
Let's see if we can
and
find that.
Bernie Sanders was sitting right there. Bernie, this old man has to deal with this shit at his age. You know what I mean? Regardless of your
Union boss.
politics, he's well past his fighting age,
Senator.
or to even break up a fight to have to be sitting next to something like that. There you go.
So hold on. I was
Stand
just
your
gonna
butt-
say,
he says, stand your butt up. And he's like, you want to go outside, buddy? And he's like, I'll go outside.
He's self-made. Sir, I wish he was in the truck with me when I was building my plumbing.
So hold on. What? Come on. So
That was the guy who.
union tells the senator, "Let's step outside."
No, the senator tells him, I think. He's the senator. And he looks a little jacked. He's definitely, he works out. This guy works out. You see him get up, he's a little slim in the middle, and he's brolic. He's a little brolic. And obviously the Teamsters guy is an old school, bald, tough union guy who will talk shit.
Sir, I wish he was in the truck with me when I was building my plumbing company myself. And my wife was running the office because I sure remember working pretty hard and long hours. Pretends like he's self-made. What a clown. Fraud. Always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. You want to run your mouth? We can be.
Wait.
adults.
Is that so? That's what the union guy said about him.
In quotes, yeah, in an article or in an interview, and he brought it up at the Senate committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know who the senator is. I don't know what he believes in, but I already like him.
He said, well, I'm here right now, motherfucker.
Finish it here.
This guy's a real American. Okay.
Rewind it 10 seconds for me, because he leads into it pretty smoothly.
Any place, anytime, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. You wanna run your
Gangster.
mouth? We can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
Stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big
Oh,
guy.
oh, stop it.
Is that your
All right.
solution?
Hold it. No, sit down. Sit down. You know, you're a United States Senator.
ECW,
Okay.
ECW, ECW,
Hold
ECW.
it.
You hear what he says? You're a United States senator. What's wrong with you? You're calling me out and calling me these things online like
Yeah,
that. Those are fighting words, bro.
In all honesty, this is not the place you do it though.
Yeah, it is.
Nah, it's not the place.
This
you
is
do
how
it.
the revolution started.
No, you bring it to the streets. You bring it to the streets. He was right by getting up. He's like, if he walked out and that guy didn't follow him, he'd look like a bitch.
Mhm.
He look if you don't follow that guy
He was
out.
like, Bernie's like, can you just sit down, man?
He got up. He saw how brolic he was, and he was like, "Oh,
Sit down.
Okay.
Sit down, please.
All right.
Can I respond? Mr.
Hold
Chairman?
it. Hold it.
Bernie's in charge of the committee. Jesus Christ.
If
Hold
we
on.
can, no,
This is
I
what
have the
he
mic.
said.
I'm sorry.
This is
Hold
what
it.
he said.
You'll have your time.
Okay.
Can I respond?
Oh, no, you can't. This is a hearing.
Oof.
things are getting rather contentious there on Capitol Hill."
So they're elbowing each other, punching someone in the kidneys.
It's just all out brawl, and it's making its way to the fucking NBA now. There was a brawl yesterday before anybody scored a point, and I can't remember who was playing. Was it like this? It wasn't the Spurs, was it? Was it like that tall dude, the giant?
It looks like it is. I don't know the jerseys, bro. I don't watch basketball. Do I look like I watch basketball?
I know-
I don't
I-
mean
I
that
know-
in a racial
I know-
kind of way. I just don't watch basketball.
I know
I
they're
don't
doing the
watch
tournament
hockey.
now.
I don't even watch baseball. Okay, baseball's boring. No offense.
And they're doing the tournament now, so they painted the court. So now I can't even tell who's who because all the courts are painted different colors. But it looks like the Utah Jazz and the Bullets, or the
I don't
Wizards,
know.
or no, the Golden State Warriors
He
and
passed
the,
the
and
ball.
the Timberwolves.
Oh, did you see where that fight is? These two are the guys. You can't see where I'm pointing. These two are the guys that are going to start fighting. So where'd they start from? Is it right here? Is this?
From the rebound,
Yeah.
We'll stay 0-0 the first 2 minutes. And then
Ooh, who's at fault? Hold on. Who's grabbing who?
we'll stay
That's
0-0
off.
the first 2 minutes. And then
They kind of were both grabbing each other.
What is going on with that? Wow.
Nice.
You got a full-on fracas going on.
A full on
Got-
what?
Draymond
Fracas?
Green defend
I'd rather call it a basket brawl.
quickly.
I like basket brawl a little better.
Yeah, I like basketball.
That's more than a scuffle.
Nobody scored any points. That's what I don't get. It's like almost 2 minutes into the quarter.
This is pro, right? This ain't college.
This is pro.
Involved in
In
anything
season.
like that. What was Jaden McDaniels doing? They were going at each other's heads. That was serious.
That was
He's
serious.
boxing him out.
Actually, it
Puts his
wasn't that
hand on
bad.
his Jersey. Jaden McDaniels puts his hand on his jersey. Now they're swinging each other around. Gobert gets in there. Draymond's got him in it.
Wow, the dude they put a headlock. Watch the guy that gets put in a headlock. He doesn't even fight back. He puts his hands up like, "What are you doing?" I was trying to break up the fight. Watch. He's like,
Now they're swinging
watch, look.
each
He's
other
like,
around.
"What
Gobert
are you
gets in
doing?"
there.
He,
Draymond's got him in a headlock.
he literally was just trying to stop the fight. He wasn't like hitting anyone.
That's why it's best not to get involved.
Here. Well, there were no punches thrown, which is good. In the
Well, I
NBA,
mean-
it doesn't matter even if you make contact. If you swing at somebody, you're gone.
Brawls used to happen more often in the NBA back in the day. They're just something you don't see nowadays.
Do you know where I was? I was at a Baltimore Orioles game versus the Yankees. Was it the Yankees? It had to be the Yankees, right? They okay.
Yeah.
And Bernie Williams got hit with the pitch.
And they cleared the benches.
And Darryl Strawberry came out from the locker. He wasn't even on the bench. He wasn't even playing. He came out from the locker room from like the back of the fucking stadium and charged in and tackled the pitcher. And then everyone cleared the dugouts and started
Bench
fighting. And
clearing.
oh my god! I mean, I'm sitting there going, "I love baseball. This is amazing." But then it's
the most exciting it gets aside from a home run is a bench clearing brawl. Like bench clearing brawls.
by the way, I think I was in Baltimore for that game.
What a nice stadium in Baltimore. I like it there.
I do. I liked it too. I used to go to all different stadiums when I used to travel with my father. But I'm gonna see if I can find his attacks. Picture for hitting Bernie Williams. 98. Wow.
Benitez comes in the pitch.
Armando Benitez, yeah.
In the pitch. Gives up a home run to Bernie Williams. Next pitch, drills Martinez right in the back.
Oh, so it wasn't Bernie Williams. It was the next guy up.
Yeah.
Immediately, he gets thrown out. Yankees come out. We got Chad Curtis right now probably like telling Benitez he's going to hell or something. Pulling Neil's upset.
So I guess my
Yeah, this-
memory's wrong.
This is at Yankee
Oh,
Stadium.
there's Alex Strawberry.
Benitez is like,
Yeah.
hey, you want to come? Come fight me then. I don't care. Come fight me. Derek Strawberry's like, oh, okay, so you want to fight? And then, oh, Jeter. Happy Jeter. Just young and happy. Doesn't really get that this is serious yet. And then someone says something awfully confusing right here. And I'm like, wait, what? What did you just say? That is quickly broken up by the bullpen wrecking crew, Jeff Nelson and Graham Lloyd, who come after Benitez from the back. Look at this.
So it wasn't Dallas Strawberry that did it first, but he was mouthing off
What
to
the hell
Dallas
is that?
Strawberry.
The Australian psycho, Graham Lloyd. Both hands around his head, trying to rip his head off or something. I don't know what the hell this was.
Wow.
And then from here, it's just a swing off. They're just swinging.
I was there for that. That's hilarious.
That was Yankee
Anyway,
Stadium, yeah. Yeah, gotta love a bench clearing brawl. I love those things. Makes the game exciting. It's like fighting in hockey. Like, I don't know what goes on with hockey, but I would stop like channel scrolling if I seen a hockey fight for sure.
yeah, like I used to go to the Ranger games for the fights. And the Rangers used to have an enforcer named McCarthy, I think his name was. And he was
Or
like
is this
six.
somebody just put in to fight people?
Yeah. His only job was to protect Gretzky. He was there to protect Gretzky.
That's crazy how that could be
a thing.
like your
Well,
primary
they would try to hurt
primary
Gretzky.
objective.
Come on, you remember that, right? Once they realized how good he was and all those records, they used to try to hurt him. They used to try to hit him and hurt him.
Yeah, but like it's weird. Like yeah, we don't want you to score any goals. We really don't want you to stop anybody else from scoring goals.
We want
We
you
just-
to make sure
We want you to
nobody
make
hurts
sure
him.
nobody hurts him, and you gotta fucking just fight a guy every once in a while. And
So
it's like that's your job as a hockey
he wasn't even a good skater. He wasn't even a good skater,
You'd think that would be
but he could hit hard.
that would, like he wasn't graceful at all. But and I could sort of see that. But you figure that would be the first thing that you would have to know is to skate. Anyway, basketball got so boring that they had to put a tournament at the beginning of the season.
So apparently, as we were talking about 2012, Iceland is experiencing
It's Iceland.
Iceland,
Iceland.
the land of ice, is experiencing thousands of earthquakes.
Just like clusters.
The land of ice
And
is also
the land of fire. And now it's not only that the earthquakes are happening, but there has been like I don't know if they call them if I'm misspeaking, but lava fissures, like actual veins of lava that have cracked the land open, and some parts have sunk in like sinkholes, but as long strips, like a crack going through the city of Rago. I can't pronounce it right. I always
Iceland
fuck
has
this
declared a state of emergency, warning of an imminent volcanic eruption. People have already evacuated a
Imminent.
small fishing town there, and the country's southwestern peninsula has experienced hundreds of earthquakes in recent days. Chris Livesay has more.
The Earth's crust splitting open at the surface, and it's probably only the beginning. Residents and visitors in Grindavik have seen hundreds of tremors. The violent rumbling cracking roads, buildings, and infrastructure, sparking a state of emergency. And
I told you 2012 is fucking happening just slowly. Like I watched the movie last night or 2 nights ago, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh my fucking god, we're dead."
But you know, geologists are honestly going to come out of the woodworks and say, "We knew this the whole time."
Of course, that in that whole movie, the plot of the movie, the government found out years before, and they built those secret boats, the arcs as they called them, ironically, to
in
be
the
ready
movie,
for
you
this.
mean in the movie?
Yes, in
You
the
don't
movie.
mean in real life, right?
Okay, in real life, I think there's a secret base underneath the airport in Colorado, and it's like a secret base that
That's-
could also stay
That's
underwater.
not a secret. That's not like a secret, though. I thought that was like, or they said not that it can stay underwater. That if the water level does come up, it will still be high enough above it to survive.
Well, theoretically, but I'm pretty sure they made the shit waterproof.
So I mean, you know, like
Right.
you would if you were like a powerful nation have something like that, right? Like
Okay, that's
like
the,
maybe
yeah, okay.
maybe
So
an underground bunker city,
so let's bring it in for a second.
Bunker City, Colorado.
Come here, you fuck. Bring it in for a second here. Okay, so if we were both wealthy beyond belief or held these high positions in the government, would we have a plan to save ourselves? Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
And you can't say that. Everyone, hold on,
Like-
that's a funny question. So like people always go like, oh, they're evil because they're planning to save themselves and nobody else. Well, yeah. Why would I save you? Why would I save you?
Yeah. Of what value do you have to me in my survival? Well, Hiddleston, to answer that question, I'm pretty sure the way insurance works, if you live in a prone area to any disaster. So if you live in a flood-prone area, an insurance company may not have included in your house insurance flood insurance, and you may have to get that separate depending on what kind of environment you live in. I believe if you live in Iceland and if they have like the same kind of like homeowners insurance that they have like here in the United States, then if you live on a fault line and or some sort of geological like or near a geological threat, then I doubt that they're going to cover you because it's an instant loss for them, because this could happen. I think what you would have to do is check and Google to see what insurance covers in Hawaii, because I'm sure if you live near a volcano in Hawaii, the insurance company is definitely not covering for your insurance, and you're going to have to buy an extra volcano insurance, I guess, or some sort of natural disaster insurance.
This is off topic, but like I'm looking for a channel that I've looked up 100 times and I'm stoned right now, so I can't think of the fucking name. And,
I was thinking I was looking at that lava vein and it was turning me on.
oh, wow.
You ever see that episode of Chappelle's Show where he pretends like he's Godzilla and then he just like humps the volcano?
No.
You don't remember that? I don't know if we could play Chappelle's Show, but it's one of the skits. He plays Blackzilla. I think was the skit.
The evacuation of thousands, like Hans Vera.
We are a little bit desperate, a little bit
Oh, we can't see it.
paralyzed and sad.
At least I can't see it.
It's a powder keg
I just
ready
hear
to
him.
blow, the meteorological office fears, with a significant likelihood of an eruption any day in a country with 33 active volcanic systems.
33.
In 2010, eruptions on the island caused massive disruptions to air travel in Europe. And tourists from around the world regularly flock here to witness the majestic lava flows. But this time, locals can't take any chances, fleeing with what they can grab. For now, the silence of anticipation is deafening.
Now the ground is busted up.
It is,
Yeah, it's the end of the fucking world over there.
But we don't know
That's what I'm
when.
saying. It's
For
happening
CBS
slowly.
Mornings, Chris Livesay.
Good evening, and thank you for joining
So-
us on this Wednesday night. We begin
Hold
tonight
on.
with the war between Israel and Hamas escalating
great.
around the
Great. The war escalating.
Do you think like, all right, in my opinion, from what I understand, is that this will, probably like affect more like the cloud if it erupts. Like if it's like some sort of like, that South Pacific island near Tonga that exploded like last year or the year before, something like that.
Didn't they say that single? Oh, sorry. Didn't they say that eruption put more carbon into the air than like the past 50 years of us or
Yeah,
whatever? Like
yeah,
it
yeah.
changed the temperature by like 1 degree or some nonsense.
Yeah, because of how big that explosion
Like,
was. I mean,
people-
all around the world. So, but that's also mostly because of the shit that it billows out into the atmosphere.
Yeah,
So
so I was gonna
you-
say everyone's worried about like all these things. Meanwhile, Earth is consistently changing naturally.
So my question is, do you think Iceland's going to be like that asshole smoking a cigar in a small room?
Yes, Iceland is that asshole smoking a cigar in a small room.
But they're not
100%.
yet. They haven't even lit it yet. Like it's like
No, no, no,
legit.
no. Oh yeah, no, you're right. It's not lit yet. They're holding it, and they got the lighter right there, ready to
Yeah,
go. But they
they're
haven't.
about to go.
They
But
haven't
they
went all the
already,
way.
they already like clipped the cigar. You know what I mean? Because the ground is opened up, but this nothing has really hit. I think like what happens, and this is what the crazy thing is, right? And I just learned this recently, that the reason why some of these volcanoes are so fucking immense, and the reason why that one in the South Pacific was so immense, is because there was so much water on top of it that evaporated instantly and created such high pressure expanding gas that it created that magnitude of an explosion. And half of this lava fissure, I think, that runs from the volcano goes into the fucking ocean, the North Atlantic, and runs in, I don't know how many miles. If that cracks open, like the eggshell that this thing is, and that hits the water, then that could explode and then blow like a fucking crater into the landscape of the side of that southern tip of Iceland. You know, not that massive. It could create like a new bay or some shit if it hits if the water hits that magma.
Magma.
Lava discharge. That's just our planet, like, you know, leaking fluids.
And we know that's how the world's going to end, probably, is our planet's going to consume us all.
Our planet having diarrhea.
With that
just
being
on its
said.
own.
So what was this thing you sent me here?
Okay. Can I just give a brief on how
Go
I
for it.
understand this?
Absolutely.
Is that I've always asked this question. I asked a couple of questions in the past when I was a kid, right? And a lot of them was because we were like leading up to the millennium, right? We
Yes.
were leading up to the year 2000. We're like, oh, well, this is the year 2000. There's been two of these things, you know, and so like I wonder how life was like, you know, in the year 1000. I know around the year 1100 there were like crusades, and then, you know, like there were all sorts of like, you know, European fucking monarchs and kings and emperors and all that shit. But there was like a period of time, I haven't really studied so deeply into this, like I'm a historian, but that no historical significance really pops up between these two dates. And in this theory states that we're missing like 200 something years, and that in a way, the people who ruled the world back in the day and who were the ones who wrote history the way that they saw fit may have sped us up because they wanted to see what was going to happen at the millennium, and they sped up the calendars and said, this year is not the year 526, it is actually the year 7 something. So or it was like the year 7 something, and they wanted to say that it was the year 999, like 999 or something.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
hold on. So crazy theory proves that we are living in 1724.
Yeah,
So this is
1726.
before-
1726.
Sorry, 26. I can't read.
Yeah.
1726.
It
So
may
this is
explain it better.
before. This is before the American Revolution, theoretically.
We're not. It's just the theory is dealing more with like the human construction of what we see as marked time. Like before we had numbers, what was time? How were you marking it by interval? Unless you create the interval to mark it with, right? Do you understand what I'm saying?
No.
So if you like a caveman who doesn't have math, he knows that a day is sun up, sundown, right? And that's about as far as he knows.
Okay.
He could maybe tell a year because there were the last time it was cold, I remember this same thing happened, and they could tell that there may be intervals of time like that, but they're not saying 1 year, 2 year. This is year 1. This is year 2, right? Obviously, we're in the year 2023 because we're marking it like 2023 years after Jesus. and what have you. And then obviously the Jews have a different year. The Chinese have a different year, yada, 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 right?
So
There's
it's all
also
made up.
It's all made up. It's a human construct.
All right, so let me watch.
So as part of the human construct, there was a king who said, fuck it, we're speeding it up 200 years just so we can get closer to the millennium, just because I say so, even though it makes no sense.
So by that theory, then the Mayan calendar never actually ended because we sped up the.
1726.
Hold on. I don't know why it doesn't.
In 1991, a German historian by the name of Hermann Illich proposed a theory called phantom time hypothesis, suggesting that the years 814 through 911 AD never happened. Well, you'll see. Illich claimed that these years were actually made up by the Holy Roman Emperor Otto III, Pope Sylvester II, and Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII by altering documentation and converting the Gregorian calendar in order to fast forward time to the sacred year 1000 AD, as Otto's ruling that starts on the millennial year 1000 AD would sound much better and be more legitimate. This theory is further backed up, as while there are written documents, there seem to be a lot of missing artifacts from those 297 years. Looking at the example of how Tartaria was written out of existence, it seems like it really wouldn't be that hard for the elites of the world to rewrite history. And just maybe, we are actually living in 1726. In 1991, a German historian by the name.
I'm not saying it's yes, but I'm saying that what I am convinced by is, for example, the month July and August are named after Julius Caesar and Caesar Augustus. That's what they're named after. They were originally 10 months in a year, and those months weren't 30 days or long or what have you. They were longer, and they were 10 months. That's why December, dice, means 10 in Latin.
Interesting.
November was nove, 9 in Latin. Okay. October was the 8th month, 8, right?
So
because we pushed the months forward 2 months, the Romans did. So what I'm saying to you is that the fuckery has happened before, where time has just been whatever the fucking king said it was.
So
you know what I mean?
Basically, what you're saying is everything we know is a lie.
It supports that theory. It supports.
Wow.
Could be an intertwined theory.
Wow.
Well, I don't speak Latin. I don't think anybody really does anyway. But I'm just saying that's where the months come from.
Okay,
and,
so
break
it down. So basically, what you're telling me though is that everything we've been told is a lie, and that we have to question everything.
Been made up. It's been made up.
So by that theory, do you think the Earth is flat?
No, I think there are flat parts of the Earth, but I think the Earth and its collective is
duo, tres, cuatro, quince, sex, just sex.
Septem, octem, novem, decem. Okay, good for you. You went to Catholic school, apparently. I did not. In nomine Patre, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. I don't know. Vine, vide, vice. I don't know. Is that Latin too?
Oh, wow. Okay, so what happened at the Capitol? Well, there was Capitol riots again?
Okay.
You mentioned this to me.
Is any riot at the Capitol a Capitol riot? Would not?
Yes, I guess by definition,
aren't they all Capitol? So what really, you know what I mean? Like separates one from the other, you know?
So
I mean, obviously this clash is all over the place. I don't know. Obviously, there's Israeli, Palestinian, all sorts of protests going on and rallies and marches and demands for the hostages, and then demands for a ceasefire, and people thinking we shouldn't be involved and people we think we should be more involved. There's wars going on all over the place. Iceland's about to become a hot molten toilet bowl.
It's probably gonna get bigger too.
It's probably gonna get bigger. What, the war or the volcano?
No, the landmass.
That's
what Hawaii is, a volcano.
Yes. Well, actually, believe it or not, most of the time, volcanic activity will like go out and then create more land. Sometimes
That's what I'm saying.
it could sometimes the opposite happens. It could concave, like what happened in the South Pacific. That was an island, and that island is underwater now because the chamber underneath that volcano collapsed.
Oh.
You understand what I'm saying? And then it could indent. So, and you see how the floor is opening up, right? You see that? I don't know if they're on a fault. I think it's cracking open, and then shit could fall in because there might be empty space. Like volcanic stone, like pumice stone. You know what pumice stone is? Very porous because all the gas is escaping this molten rock, fluff it up like cotton candy. Now I want some cotton candy. But, you know, like it could happen on a larger scale to where there's just air bubbles or gas bubbles trapped underneath the ground. And that's what causes earthquakes and shit too. It's not only liquid molten rock flowing through veins and stuff. It's
So
other
the
things
theme-
too.
in the
Gas
theme of-
buildups and yada yada.
The theme of volcanoes and the end of the world in 2012, our next segment is going to be some more conspiracy shit. So you remember this guy? He did the last video we watched. This one is
He talks to the fish. He talks to the fish.
This one is going to play eventually, but the screen appears to be. Come on, what's going on here?
In 1966, a well-known scientist released a book with information that could impact everyone on Earth. But before anyone could read it, it was classified by the CIA. We only learned about it a few years ago when it was declassified. But the CIA only released 57 pages.
Sorry, they won't.
Why don't you put us both on the right side?
No, I'm not even worried about that. I'm worried about it's not really loading the fucking thing.
Oh, it's slow. So
It's not slow. The
CIA
page
classifying a book, huh?
won't go. There we go. That's better, I think.
Pages of the original two.
So they unclassified documents as they always do, and they still had to keep some of it classified. So they didn't unclassify or declassify, excuse me, all of it. But it's supposed to be the book. It's the end of the world. It's how the world's going to end.
284-page manuscript. And those pages have been, in the CIA's own words, sanitized.
So
And why does
it's
the
not
CIA think this book
It's not the complete story.
had to
It's
hide it from the
sanitized.
public for 60 years and continue to hide most of it? Well, it's because the man who wrote it describes the end of the world.
Joe Rogan, I think, talked about this too.
In 1966, former McDonnell Douglas engineer Dr. Chan Thomas released a book called The Adam and Eve Story. Now, that title might sound like he's being cute, but he's actually being literal. This book is about the end of the world as we know it.
Hey,
What's up?
is this one of those stories where you scare the hell out of us?
Everyone out there, all like 2 people, please like and subscribe for the Y-Files because we're showing their video, and I'm supposed to eventually do a shout out so we don't get copyrighted. By the way,
Did you wrap it up with a
What up,
happy ending?
Y-Files?
Well, you're half right.
Oh no. If I soil my bowl again, you gotta remember to edit that out.
They didn't know you had an accident. You just told them.
Well,
Thomas presents
oh, that fucking fish.
evidence of a coming shift in the Earth's poles that creates a cataclysm. And Thomas says these pole shifts are cyclical, that on regular intervals, a disaster wipes out almost all human life, and we start over again in the Stone Age.
So you watched the what's his name documentary on Netflix? The what's his name? The Joe Rogan guy, the fucking.
Graham Hancock.
So that you watched that, right?
Yeah, and the younger
Yeah.
Dryas theory.
So they kind of talk about that, but they think that it's a comet impact or multiple comet impacts that cause.
Yeah, it could be. Like out from outside the planet, not just
Yes.
like the inside of the planet doing something with the outside.
This guy is the quite opposite, where we know the polar they switch once in a while or they move around. They don't stay exactly where they are. We know based on the history of the planet and the way the magnetic field is or whatever. No, I don't know, but he's going to tell us how. But anyway, so we know it's supposed to happen.
He says we're
Allegedly.
actually the 6th advanced civilization to evolve on Earth. There may have been even more civilizations that have been here, but the further back you go, the harder it is to know for sure because some of these civilizations occupied continents that no longer exist. Now, Thomas isn't the first scientist to publish this theory. In 1958, almost 10 years before the Adam and Eve story, Charles Hapgood published The Earth's Shifting Crust, which discussed the Earth crustal displacement hypothesis. This theory says that sometimes the Earth spins really fast and the continents are rearranged. When Hapgood proposed the idea of continental drift,
Well, and we kind of know that already because remember, Pangea was a thing. All the continents were originally were at one point connected.
But Pangea was like 400 million years ago.
Yes.
And we've only been species for like 2 to 4 or something like that.
That we know of, because if everything gets wiped out, we wouldn't find evidence of.
But geologically speaking, where the continents are sitting right now isn't too much different or further away from where they were sitting when we first decided to fucking stand upright. You know what
it
I
was
mean?
called pseudoscience. But Hapgood had his supporters. In fact, Albert Einstein wrote the forewords for 2 of his books. Now, of course, we know that Hapgood was right. The continents do move. They drift apart and collide together over and over again, and have done so for almost 4 billion years. Pangea was the supercontinent that broke apart to form the land masses that exist today. But before Pangea, there was the supercontinent Gondwana, which existed for 400 million years. Before Gondwana, there was Pannotia. Before that, Rodinia, Columbia, Atlantica, Arctica, Kennerland, Ur, and Valbara. These were all supercontinents that eventually broke apart and reformed. After working with Einstein and a few other scientists, Charles Hapgood released the book The Path of the Pole as an update to his previous theories. In this book, Hapgood suggested that the Earth's poles are constantly moving. Again, this piece of pseudoscience was eventually proven true. Hapgood believed that a pole shift between 15 and 40 degrees occurred around 9600 BC, or 11,600 years ago.
Younger Dryas.
Younger Dryas.
See? Bada bing.
So now, but hold on a second. Who's to say that impact could have like fucking threw the Earth into some sort of cataclysm that would have been hard enough to cause a pole shift? You know
That's
what I mean?
another thing that's extremely true. I didn't think about that because it could something I mean, we're knuckleheads, so we're saying these crazy theories, but theoretically, something with that much force hitting something will somehow move it somehow.
Well, fuck up its equilibrium.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll fuck up something somewhere, like tidally. Even if it's not just a tsunami that could rearrange a few fucking coastlines. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But then I also thought this. That I've heard this theory before too, right? Just I want to give like a quick 2 seconds about this. But this is what I think. I think that yes, it have thrown us back into like a Stone Age. But this time around, we won't be thrown back into as much of a Stone Age. I think we'll start off with a lot more know-how than the last time. And I think the last time they started off with a little bit more know-how than the time before them. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, but the problem is when they get into the details about what happens or the theories behind what happens, you'll understand why you wouldn't find evidence of it. You know, I understand bones and fossils exist, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, they do. That's my argument. That's my argument too. Bones and fossils do exist.
No, not just me. What the hell?
There we go.
Yes. Now, the Piri-Reis map is something that has baffled scientists for hundreds of years. On the Piri-Reis map is the continent of Antarctica. But Antarctica wasn't discovered until 1820. And Piri-Reis claimed the information on his map came from much older maps. If Charles Hapgood was right and the Earth's axis was shifted 15 degrees from where it is now, Antarctica wouldn't be completely covered in ice. Hapgood believed an Ice Age civilization, long forgotten, mapped the coast thousands of years ago. Though many of Hapgood's theories have proven to be true, the Ice Age pole shift is still controversial. We do know the poles shift over time. We also know the continents drift over a very long period of time. But Dr. Chan Thomas, in his book, The Adam and Eve Story, says the shift happens in less than a day. Chan Thomas describes in detail what this will be like. And
Nothing happens that fast, though.
it's worse than any Hollywood disaster movie ever conceived. Far worse.
Yeah, we're such a how can you say it? It's hard, but like the size of the Earth to be affected that quickly in less than a day is. But then again, we do.
Yeah. I mean,
rotate around the
I'm
sun.
saying this, right? Do any of us fathom how much fucking iron there is in the center of this fucking planet? Like, you pick up a dumbbell, like I could pick up my kettlebell right behind me, right? And I'm like, okay, this is pretty dense. This would hurt if it dropped on my foot. Now, imagine how much of that is in the center of the Earth to be dense enough to pull your fat ass towards it. All right? And then it's got magnets fucking shooting out all over the fucking place. Do you think it's going to rush for your theory? No, I think not. Volcanoes, yo, what up, Yoni? I just saw him a couple of days ago. What's going on? me and Yoni had some. We ate all of the animals at the Korean barbecue spot. That place is awesome. You know which one I'm talking about, right, Mike?
Which one?
Well, I think maybe we went.
It's not. I forgot which one we went. No, I forgot.
It was the one they got the ceramic bowl thing, and they keep throwing fucking meat on that.
I remember the name though. I know what. There's a bunch. Like every place is like that.
It's like Meat Me, I think it's called.
Okay. Maybe that sounds right.
Meat Me.
Anyway.
Chan Thomas begins his book with a chapter that describes exactly what we'll experience during this pole shift event. But before we get into it, now might be a good time to hit pause and grab fresh underwear.
I'm gonna go grab some fresh underwear. I'll be right back, guys.
I've learned to listen to him when he says that.
With a rumble so low as to be inaudible, then fueling into a thundering roar, the earthquake starts. Only it's not like any earthquake in history. In California, mountains
Iceland
shake like ferns in a breeze. The mighty Pacific rears back and piles up into a mountain of seawater more than 2 miles high, then starts its race eastward. The wind attacks, shredding everything in supersonic bombardment. The mountain of Pacific seawater follows the wind eastward, burying Los Angeles and San Francisco as if they were but grains of sand. Across the continent, the thousands.
I like how he uses clips from all the disaster movies.
Yeah, I was like, none of them is their own graphics, their own. Listen, Yon, that's what I'm saying, Yoni. I'm saying pole shift won't do that. Won't do that. We might get EMPs and shit like that because
The Earth spins about 1,000 miles per hour. We don't feel this because everything is spinning together. The land, the water, the atmosphere. Now, Thomas says that when the pole shift happens, the Earth's air and water continue to spin, but the land masses stop.
In many places, the Earth's molten sublayer breaks through and spreads a sea of white-hot liquid fire. In a fraction of a day, all vestiges of civilization are gone, and the great cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Dallas, New York, Boston, are nothing but legends. Barely a stone is left where millions walked just a few hours ago.
Now think of what would happen if you were in a car going 1,000 miles per hour that suddenly stopped. Now think of what would happen if a large city going 1,000 miles per hour suddenly stopped. Skyscrapers would collapse. Millions of people would be thrown around like they were in a food processor. Very few people would survive that. But survivors are the unlucky ones because moving.
And that's why there would be no fossils, because they all turn to ground up kibble and bits.
You know, like the poles, like, you know how like there's like an extra couple of seconds to every day or something, or minutes to every day, so they have to do it leap year or whatever. Nothing's ever exactly accurate, and all that stuff. And do you know that what the model looks like for our solar system moving through space?
Like, have I seen a model of it? Yes.
Yeah, like how it's just the sun is just a star moving this way, and everything else is spinning around in a tail almost.
Yes.
As it's moving through space-time. So the magnetic pole moving, it's just like a slight shift that is moving constantly. It's not always at the exact same spot, but it's like mere centimeters every fucking year or whatever we could be talking about. And maybe the pole will be over Central Africa one day, or maybe it'll be over Australia, or maybe it'll be over South America or over the United States. But it'll take such a long time for that to happen that, a force strong enough to spin the center of the earth out of whack, to do something like that, would have to come past us. And the only theory that I can think of that could do something like that is what is that planet called?
Planet X?
Yeah, but has it Narubu?
I don't know. Yes. It's something like that.
If something like that passes us, because like what the moon does is locks us into a system, and it itself is locked in a constant position because of that. That's what the moon sacrifices, its own independence of movement, so that we can move in a system. Something bigger would have to come in and disrupt that in order for something tidal to happen that could pull the magnetic field for the pole to shift that erratically. And for all of that seismic activity, you need something bigger pulling on the planet. Not just, our planet decides to go schizophrenic one day and shift poles because it forgot to take its meds because we're on a bipolar planet. That was a joke.
Across the country at the speed of sound is a 2-mile-high wall of water, mud.
They do call it Mother Nature.
And debris.
South America finds the Andes not high enough to stop the violence. In less than a day, the entire continent is burned by molten earth fire, buried under miles of violent seas, then turned into a frozen hell. Everything freezes: man, beast, plant, and mud in less than 4 hours.
When the shift happens, the land on Earth stops moving, so the sun stops moving in the sky. That means one side of the Earth is going to get really hot and the other side really cold. A temperature drop of 180 degrees. That means even the warmest parts of the planet are going to be 80 degrees below zero. Everything is frozen solid within 4 hours.
Europe cannot escape. The Alps, Pyrenees, Urals are sunken, then heaved even higher when the wall of seawater strikes. Western Africa and the sands of the Sahara vanish. The fury marches on for 6 days. During the 6th day, the ocean starts to settle. The Bay of Bengal Basin just east of India is now at the North Pole. The Pacific Ocean just west of Peru is at the South Pole. New ice caps begin to form in the new polar areas. Greenland and Antarctica, now rotating equatorially, emerge with verdant tropical foliage.
Thomas is predicting
Hold on. How fucking fast is this guy going? Just, that's it? It melts and there's fucking palm trees underneath the frozen fucking tundra just spring out of fucking nowhere? What kind of hokey pokey fucking shit is this? Mike, can I have a word with you, Mike?
No, that's over time. It's not instantly.
Well, they need to say that. And that's also not instantly. Is there a fucking wall of water that's miles and miles high? And also not instantly is the pole just shifting from one side to the next.
It's gonna happen.
90-degree shift of the Earth's axis, basically turning the planet on its side. The poles move to the equator, and the equator moves to the poles.
See?
Just because you're at the poles does not make you the cold or hot spot. It's your position in relation to the sun.
I gotta go re-nook the baby. Enjoy.
6 days later, play it.
I'm backing up.
6 days later.
Tropical foliage.
Thomas is predicting a 90-degree shift of the Earth's axis, basically turning the planet on its side. The poles move to the equator, and the equator moves to the poles.
New York lies at the bottom of the Atlantic, covered by unbelievable amounts of mud. Of San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, Dallas, and Boston, not a trace is left. The cataclysm has done its work and drives the pitiful few who survive into a new Stone Age. We join Noah, Adam and Eve, Atlantis, Mu and Olympus, and Jesus joins Osiris, Tahora, Zeus, and Vishnu.
In the first chapter of his book, Dr. Thomas paints a terrifying future. But how likely is it? In the next few chapters, Thomas goes on to not only prove his pole shift is possible, that it's happened before and will happen again very soon. In fact, there are signs that it may have already begun. Every culture has a flood myth. Abrahamic religions have Noah's flood. The Mayans have the Huracan flood, where the word hurricane comes from. Ancient Hawaiians have the Nu'u flood. The Sumerians wrote about a flood in Gilgamesh. Europe, Asia, Pacific Islanders, and native tribes from all over America. They all talk about a great flood that cleansed the earth so civilization could start again. Now, one myth is just folklore. Two myths are a coincidence. 4D flood myths? This starts to look less like a myth and more like actual history. Now, on this channel, we typically associate great floods with the end of the last ice age, the Younger Dryas. And core samples provide solid evidence that this happened. But what's interesting is, Thomas said the last great flood wasn't 11,500 years ago, but 6,500 years ago. Now, in the 1960s, there was very little, if any, proof of this. But a few years ago, archaeologists found evidence of the Gunyu flood myth in China. Evidence of a great flood has been found in the Mediterranean and in the Black Sea. These discoveries put the flood between 6,500 and 7,000 years ago, more recent than the Younger Dryas, and right when Thomas says it happened. Chan Thomas provides the dates of other floods. The Younger Dryas is about 11,500 years ago. Before that, a flood 18,500 years ago. And this is exactly the time when the Bering Land Bridge went underwater. Before that, 29,000 years ago, which was the end of the Wisconsin glacial period. And before that, 43,800 years ago. But global floods aren't controversial. We know they happened. What is controversial is the claim that advanced civilizations existed before each of the floods. Mainstream archaeology and paleontology say the first civilization emerged in Mesopotamia 6,500 years ago. But what if that was just the last reboot?
Ooh, like the Batman movies?
Exactly.
The Dark Knight Rises is the best.
No, it's not the best one. The Dark Knight Rises. What are you out of your fucking mind?
It's a fish.
You're a
It's a
fish.
fish.
Shut the fuck up, you fucking
He's a
fish.
fish. He doesn't know any better.
Okay. So
Mad floods, yo. We're at mad floods. He's talking about mad floods.
the world keeps getting reset over and over again, and it makes sense because like,
I could espouse that might be true, but I believe this time we will start out with more than we had the last time.
not if we fucking nuke everything.
Well, I don't know. I think I beg to differ.
Like, and you do. Well, let's get through this.
This one.
Can we discuss Batman later? I'm trying to talk the erosion around the base of the Great Sphinx. We see patterns that were formed by running water, vast amounts of water moving at tremendous speeds. But if this is water erosion, that means the Sphinx was created before the last flood 6,500 years ago, which is before the emergence of the Egyptian civilization. Archaeologists hate that idea. And they really hate the idea.
You see how
I'll
you
tell
put
you,
together all these pieces?
Yeah. But this is the thing. Like, there's parts of this that I could sort of dig, right? And I'll tell you why. That was an archaeology joke. Because with the Sphinx, I do believe that the head was recarved years after the original structure was built. I believe that a pharaoh carved his own likeness into the head of a lion that was there. You know what I mean? And had been there for fucking God knows how long. I don't know how long. And that running water that he's pointing out is something that has been noticed like for a very long time in people. But there is like the guy who's the head of the Egyptian Museum, Hawass, I think is his name, is super anti anybody going against the status quo to
Yeah, but now it's becoming a little bit more recognized, I believe. At least that's what they
but
say.
that is water erosion. And what the fuck is it? What the fuck is that
That the
doing out there in the desert?
Sphinx was built over 10,000 years ago. But there's other evidence of a cataclysmic pole shift, specifically of a great mud flood and a sunken continent.
Do you mean?
I mean Atlantis.
Atlantis.
Neve's story. Extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence. In his dialogues, Plato famously introduced the world to Atlantis, the advanced utopian society that was destroyed in a cataclysm. Now, until definitive proof of Atlantis is found, it will continue to be considered a mythical land. But that
they
won't
found it
and
already.
shouldn't stop people from
Oh, they
looking
did.
for it. There is a geological feature in Northwest Africa called the
Yeah.
Richat structure, also called the Eye of the Sahara.
It's a huge
The Eye of
crater.
the Sahara, and
Yeah.
guess what?
It's about the right size and shape for Atlantis. Plato described the city as concentric rings with a waterway flowing out. But even among Atlantis believers, there's debate about whether this is a man-made structure or a natural one. But what I find fascinating is near the Eye of the Sahara and all over the planet, you'll see large ripples in the landscape. Now, on the ground, these look like rolling hills, but they're actually about 50 feet high, the size of a 5-story building. And they were caused by water. A lot of water.
This is one of the craziest things you'll ever see.
These ripples, repeated ripples in an area where there's nothing else like it.
This is the fingerprints of the flood. That's what it is.
Wow. The water here, Joe, that did this, the way to visualize this is to, again, begin to think of tsunami. Here, what you have to visualize is...
Now, Brian.
I've seen this episode too.
I know. You had just previously said, well, look, listen to this 2 mile high water come on. That's crazy. But then you forgot that these guys talked about it and said it'd be this insane amount of water.
Yes, I'm
2
not
miles
saying,
high.
dude, I'm not saying a tsunami can't happen. I'm just saying worldwide, because of a pole shift, seems a little out of mind. I believe a 2 mile tsunami because we get slammed by a fucking asteroid. Hell yeah. I think a 2 mile fucking tsunami because a massive fucking earthquake explodes out the side of the fucking continent and travels across the Pacific. Yeah. Yeah, dude, totally. But not from a pole shift, I don't think.
Tsunami sweeping over the land that's over 1,000 feet deep. And it's sweeping down over this land at probably 200 or 300 million cubic feet per second, which is an inconceivable amount of water.
But Atlantis isn't the only place lost to this disaster. This is called the Land of Mu. Mu is described by Augustus Le Plongeon and later by James Churchward, both of whom translated very old texts from the Maya and India. Both of these cultures, on opposite sides of the world, describe a vast continent in the Pacific that reached Hawaii in the north, and as far south as Easter Island, and as far west that it almost reached the islands of Japan.
Yeah, but these are people that didn't really know much about.
Dude, you could see the topography of what the bottom of the Pacific Ocean looks like from like an aerial shot, like what.
Yeah.
We could see the outlines of the continents and the extension of the continental shelf on the outside of continents and just where they drop off and how deep they drop off and how deep they drop off too. The Marianas Trench is in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. In order for that to be a theory, for it to sit in between the continents where they sit now, would have displaced so much fucking water in the ocean that it would itself have then flooded other continents completely at the time that these people are claiming, the Indians and the Mayans, that this continent existed. Do I think maybe they confused Australia for this said continent? Yeah, that's what I think. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not reliable at all.
Yes, it's not reliable.
James Bramwell and William Scott Elliott, both proponents of this theory, claim the continent was destroyed in a cataclysm 11,500 years ago. There's that date again. The Yonaguni Monument off the coast of Japan is said to be the underwater ruins of Mu. Nam Madol in Micronesia is considered to be the southern part of Mu. The site is full of structures made of enormous...
Okay, but it's not as big as they thought it would be then, though. It's a lot smaller.
Yeah, and
so
they're also not giving credit to the indigenous people who had occupied that island before. You know what I mean? Like
logs of volcanic rock. Nobody knows who built this or how, but their society was advanced. Just recently, LiDAR imaging from the air shows that at one time, Nam Madol had an artificial irrigation system that could bring fresh water to residents all over the area. The eastern part of Mu is Easter Island, and there could be evidence of a cataclysm there. On Easter Island are the Moai statues, and you've seen these. It's lots of heads, about 1,000 actually. And most people don't realize that these statues have bodies buried deep underground. So there are two options. One, whoever built the statues first dug holes, then buried 30-foot tall, 80-ton statues up to their necks, then filled in the holes. Or two, the statues were completely above ground, but at some point were buried by something. And look at Easter Island. It's a tiny island in the middle of nowhere. At one point, 12,000 people lived there. Where did they come from? Mainstream anthropology says that people from Polynesia took a canoe out thousands of miles in the middle of the Pacific and hoped for the best. But if the continent of Mu was real, then they could have just walked there. This could also explain why Polynesian languages share similarities to Greek, and maybe why on Easter Island they worshipped a sun god called Ra, which is awfully close to the Egyptian sun god Ra. And the connections don't stop there. There are similarities between Greek, Egyptian, and even Indian gods, as if all these cultures intermingled or came from a single source. Chan Thomas lays out some good evidence for the cyclical.
Wait a second. So, okay, that's the United States. Mu is this whole mess here.
Next to Asia and India, yeah.
But then Atlantis is here, but he just said Atlantis is the Eye of Africa.
Yeah, which would be you see where the ear of Africa is, not the horn, the ear. Yeah, it would be in there.
Yeah, but it's up here in
in the
this map,
desert.
so this is complete bullshit.
Everybody has conflicting.
And what is this?
You see Lemura or whatever. That's
Yeah.
the deepest part of the ocean is there. The Marianas Trench is in the middle of that.
Intermingled or came from a single source. Chan Thomas lays out some good evidence for the cyclical cataclysm theory. But the big questions are how and when will it happen? Well, you're not going to like the answer. Global cataclysm. But when? Well, to answer that, we have to understand how it happens. In the story of Adam and Eve, Thomas includes a diagram showing the cross-section of the Earth and a description of the process.
The process of a cataclysm is known now. Look at the cross-section of the Earth inside the front cover. You'll see two molten layers, the orange ones. The important one is the thin molten layer starting 60 miles down, extending 60 miles deeper to 120 miles below the surface of the Earth. The thick, deep molten layer starting 1,800 miles down at the bottom of the mantle and extending 1,300 miles deeper is the outer core. Seismology has proven these two orange layers to be molten, and they are white hot, over 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit.
But Dr. Thomas was able to predict seismic
hold on a
activity
second.
all over the world.
Hold on. But that diagram is showing a consistent and evenly distributed material in a spherical form that creates our planet when in fact, and you've said this, you brought this point up and I said, yes, indeed, the Earth is not shaped perfectly round. As we were talking about flat earthers, it's more like an egg shape that gets pulled by the moon. You know what I mean? At that point, and creates the tides. And we're a little bit more elongated at the equator than we are at the poles because of that spin and that tug. Now, that being said, the interior is like if you were to think we were an egg. Now, when you put an egg sideways and hold it up to the light and you can see the yolk, you ever do that?
Yes.
You ever hold up? Now, how much mantle is there on one side than the other? It is also like porous too. There could be chambers that are empty. There could be chambers that are not. There's more dense areas than others because there's a mixture of fucking elements that are boiling in this mantle. Not just iron, not just fucking nickel, not just other metals. It is boiling, right? Basalts, all that shit, right? And it are of all varying different densities. Except the iron core, the core of the planet is one, but that itself might not be a smooth ball, and it's just bubbling hot.
I'm so fucking high right now. This is great. But are you over analyzing a little animated video?
But I'm just saying, to where they're just trying to make this, they're probably using that as the basis of their theory, not thinking that there's so much else that goes into
Let's just give them the benefit of the doubt, sort of.
Inside the Earth, the electrical and magnetic structure of the interior makes the layers act as if they were near solid. As long as the magnetic and electrical structure of the Earth maintains its orderliness, it keeps rotating on axis in a normal manner. Every few thousand years, the magnetic and electrical orderliness in the shallow molten layer is disorganized, to the extent that the shallow molten layer is allowed to act as a free liquid, which then serves as a lubricant for the ice caps to pull the shell around the Earth's interior so as to have the ice caps shift about 90 degrees into the torrid zone.
When this event occurs, the layer beneath the Earth's crust turns from solid to liquid. Then the land masses can slide around freely, and the weight of the ice caps then yanks the Earth off axis.
In 1/4 to 1/2 a day, the geographic poles move to the torrid zone and all hell lets loose.
Well, that's an understatement.
The atmosphere and the Earth's oceans don't shift with the shell. They just keep on rotating west to east. And at the equator, that speed is about 1,037 miles per hour. So while the shell shifts with the poles going to the equator, the winds and oceans continue eastward, blowing and flooding across the Earth at supersonic speeds, inundating continents with water miles deep, destroying everything with which man has ever dealt, including himself. That's a summary of the process.
Oh, when is all this supposed to happen?
What about all the crocodiles, lions, the elephants, tigers? All of these fucking animals.
Okay,
Are
so
we the only one? Are we the only ones getting affected by natural disasters?
no,
Or,
but hold on,
or did I
hold
just
on.
forget that there've been fucking millions of species of animals?
Lions are not that old. On the other hand, crocodiles are very fucking old. They are basically dinosaurs.
Lions have been around for longer than 12,000 years. Crocodiles have been around
Millions.
Okay, crocodiles survived a fucking asteroid slamming into the planet, and the same way they've survived. And alligators, fucking impact 65 billion years ago blew the whole shit up. Probably the most devastating thing. Now, way more devastating than a pole shift. That
So,
fucking none of them
crocodiles
fucking
are
died.
95 million years old. Like not old, like how
So
old
how
they
many?
are.
So how many of these pole shifts have they? If the Earth fucking okay, how he's saying, how Yoni was saying, 6 days this all happened. 6 days, all happened 6 days. It happened so fast. Cataclysm, blah blah blah. Do you think that all the rest of these animals are more special than us? That we okay? Yeah, there'd be a few of us that would be left in the Stone Age. But
I don't think everyone. I don't think everyone dies. I think he says not everyone dies, and every animal's wiped out. We just lose all the technology we had, basically.
I need time to get a steel reinforced bow.
Well, Chan Thomas updated his prediction in 1993 and said the shift would happen in 7 years, around the year 2000.
Well, he got that wrong.
He mentioned.
Although, if it's really not 2000, it's really.
then he's off by like 200 some odd years.
Yep.
That Nostradamus and Edgar Casey made the same prediction.
Yeah, but that's over 20 years ago, which means we're due.
We're due. There's a lot more to the Adam and Eve story, but those are the bullet points. And if you want to read the entire book, there are links below. So, should we panic? Well, let's address a few items in the book and see how they compare with known science. But first, let's clear up a few things. I told the story based on what's in the book and in the articles and videos floating around the web. The videos aren't completely accurate. First, you'll hear that Chan Thomas is a made-up name. Because the subject matter was so explosive, he wrote the book under a pseudonym. Well, this isn't true. Dr. Chan Thomas was a real person. Chan is a nickname. His full name was Dr. Chauncey Powers Thomas. He was born in Missouri in 1920 and passed away in 1998.
Okay.
He was married and had children and grandchildren. He was an electrical engineer.
So what I do like about this guy is he just goes based off what he knows, what he found, and then at the end he analyzes it and goes, "Here's what is true, and here's what's not true."
Let's hear the possible bullshit.
And he did work for McDonnell Douglas. He even appeared as a UFO expert in a documentary in the 90s. And he was on Johnny Carson on April 7th, 1965 with Ava Gabor.
Well, at no point in this story did I think we'd end up with Johnny Carson and Ava Gabor.
Dr. Thomas wrote a few books, some about the coming cataclysm. He wrote about ESP, UFOs. He wrote one book on how to teach yourself natural childbirth.
Wait, what? What does he know about childbirth? Now, I'm not a biologist, but I don't think men can...
Don't go there. Another thing you'll hear is that the book was originally 284 pages.
It's funny.
But the CIA only released 57 of those pages.
Not true?
Nah, the original book was 57 pages. If you look at the table of contents, the conclusion begins on page 45. And some people will say the CIA is withholding documents because pages are missing, like page 8, page 18, page 20, and a few others. Well, they're missing because they're the opposite sides of title pages. In the original book, they're blank. And I could show you this. Someone has a copy. So the CIA document is the whole thing.
Oh, then why classify it?
Well, that's a bit of a mystery. What was classified was the book, an inter-office memo with a shopping list for some tools and car parts, and a folded-up article snipped from People magazine.
Well, that's pretty random.
Yeah, if I had to guess, this document was in the possession of a caseworker, and it was classified just as a matter of course. In 1966, the year it was classified, Dr. Thomas was working at McDonnell Douglas on UFO and anti-gravity technology. He also worked as a project engineer at Bell Labs on a missile guidance system. Chan Thomas was known to be highly intelligent, but very eccentric. The classified documents were probably part of a background report or maybe someone just keeping an eye on him. You'll hear that the book was banned, but it wasn't. Just this one document was classified. There were copies in circulation. He also published follow-ups in
He was a little crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
1971 and 1993, and neither was classified. As for the content of the book itself, Thomas doesn't provide any solid evidence. He makes a lot of deductions from old texts, some of which are pretty big leaps. And it seems like he's borrowing ideas from other catastrophists like Hapgood, Immanuel Velikovsky, and a few others. But he's cherry-picking his favorite parts without giving specifics. For example, his theory about the ice caps knocking the Earth off axis, well, that comes from Hapgood's first book. But after working with scientists, including Albert Einstein, Hapgood issued a follow-up book that explains how he got that wrong. But Dr. Thomas, he sticks with the story. And the liquid crust bit he talks about, he says the Earth's magnetism and electricity become disrupted. He offers no evidence or even an explanation of how it happens, just that it does. Now, there are ice core samples from the eastern part of Antarctica that show it's been covered in ice for at least 1.5 million years. Now, granted, the western side of the continent is a little trickier because it may not have always been covered in ice. But either way, we know for certain it's been down there for a long time. When Chan Thomas released an expanded version of the book in 1993, he didn't make any corrections or provide any new evidence, but he did have chapters on ESP, on UFOs, and on angels. It doesn't read as scientific at all. In fact, it's a hot mess. He jumps all over the place without a cohesive narrative. It feels like he gathered a bunch of ideas he had over the years and then threw them into one final book. So, 2 questions. Was Dr. Chan Thomas a serious researcher? No. But is there evidence to support some of his claims? There is. Now, I don't believe Dr. Chauncey Powers Thomas was a serious researcher. Whether he really had ESP or not, I'd rather not get into it. But some of the claims he makes in his book have been proven possible. We know that global floods have happened. The evidence is everywhere. But these floods, specifically from the Younger Dryas, were not from the oceans. They were from the rapid melting of glaciers. Still, they were destructive. They really did create tsunamis 1,000 feet high, and they really raised the sea level hundreds of feet. He says the temperature drops so much and so quickly that everything is instantly frozen solid. He talks about woolly mammoths being frozen with buttercups in their mouths. Now, this is true. Mammoths have been discovered that were frozen in the middle of eating. Now, it takes a long time to freeze a steak, but to flash freeze a mammoth, those conditions would have to be extreme. According to Thomas, seismic activity is one of the reasons the Earth's axis shifts. This is also true. NASA found that the big Indonesian earthquake in 2004 shifted the North Pole about 25 centimeters east, and the Earth's rotation sped up, which decreased the length of a day by 2.7 microseconds.
That's crazy.
In 2010, an earthquake in Chile did the same thing. The Earth's axis shifted and the day was shortened again. In Japan the following year, it happened again.
Is this a concern?
Not really, no. Earthquakes speed up the Earth a little bit, but the moon slows it down. Things stay pretty well balanced. The shifts aren't anything to worry about. Now, the shifting magnetic poles, that is a concern. We know the Earth's poles flip-flop. North becomes south and vice versa. And geologically speaking, it happens a lot. It's happened hundreds of times. On average, the time between shifts is about 300,000 years. But we haven't shifted in almost 800,000 years, so we're way overdue.
How do we know it flipped?
Well, because when lava cools, it creates a record of the orientation of past magnetic fields, like a tape recorder records sound.
Ooh, that's pretty cool, actually.
That is
the poles
pretty cool.
are always moving. In the early 1990s, the North Pole was drifting about 9 miles per year, but that's been steadily increasing. In fact, GPS is updated periodically to account for this. But GPS was being updated every 5 years, then every year, and now every 6 months. The pole is now drifting at almost 40 miles per year, and the Earth's magnetic field is weakening quickly. These are signs that a shift could be coming.
Yes, but it won't be all in one day like they said, or all in 6 days. It'll probably be over the course of years.
Exactly. That is
So what
exactly
then
my
is that
point. Years or decades. You know what I mean?
Or 100 years.
the end of the world?
Exactly.
Well,
I mean, or I meant 1,000 years, decades. I meant 1,000 years.
life will go on. Animals that navigate using geomagnetism will be confused, but in a generation or two, they'll figure it out. Animals that don't use magnetism probably won't notice a difference. The geologic record shows no major die-offs during pole shifts, and our species has lived through a few shifts the past 3 million years, and we're still here.
Ugh.
But
Oh no.
our ancestors didn't have satellites or GPS or planes. A lot of our technology is going to go haywire, but code can be rewritten and software can be patched. The real danger is in between the shifts. As we approach a pole shift, the Earth's magnetic field gets tangled up and extremely weakened. This leaves us vulnerable to solar activity. Solar winds, storms, coronal mass ejections, these are bad. Without our magnetic field to protect us, satellites will get fried if they're not hardened. Rates of cancer will increase dramatically. And if you think climate change is a problem now,
Climate change is not a problem now.
yeah, it is.
Don't be a sheep.
Either way, the climate will be very unpredictable. But the biggest danger is our power grids. High enough solar activity could knock out all electricity on Earth for days or weeks, maybe months in some places. To say there will be civil unrest is a huge understatement. When Dr. Chan Thomas released his book, The Adam and Eve Story, it was dismissed as pseudoscience. But in the 50 or so years since it was published, a lot of his claims can be proven. It would seem that, in some cases, the difference between pseudoscience and real science is just time. And if just a fraction of Dr. Thomas's predictions come true, our time is running out. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. My name is AJ. That's Hecklefish. This has been...
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I mean, it could go down, just not how they're saying it's going to go down. You know what I mean? I think what humans do, right, often, is they project themselves onto other things. So they project themselves onto animals. They project themselves onto natural disasters. You know what I mean? So it's like how quickly humans jump to war, as we have a lot the last 2 years, right? We see how quickly humans jump to fight in the street, like we have in the last 4 some odd years, during all the rioting, during COVID and all that stuff. We see how quick we are to react. So we put our personality and what humans do on the earth. So we say the earth will react that quick because in some instances, yes, a volcano will explode and a tsunami will happen and there might be a hurricane or a typhoon. But the whole planet in one coordinated disastrous upheaval, like, is just from a pole shift, is, I think, is a little cuckoo.
Anything is possible.
I think that every 300 some odd thousand years, that makes sense, and us being due, it being that we we went past the mark twice. Yeah, I believe that. But it's also something that's going to, like you said earlier, also, I think you agreed that you said it would take time.
Yeah, probably.
Probably
a lot of time.
And maybe shit'll melt and maybe shit'll fucking crack and maybe shit'll, become like, like there might be volcanoes exploding and shit and throwing. That's what you got to worry about, is not really all that magnetism shit so much as it would be if it did cause some sort of seismic activity. It's the clouds of smoke that would fuck everything up. You know what I mean?
I mean, yes, because that can actually cause an ice age.
It would be nice to have seasons down here in Florida. I won't have to keep coming up to New York every fucking, often to cool down. You know
Every
what I mean?
fucking time I do that.
But yeah, I don't know. I am sort of worried about Iceland. So keep your your eyes on that shit, because that shit's gonna fucking happen any day now. That's something I believe will happen any day now.
I didn't even. Is there? It's not above the. It's there's two different kinds of like volcanoes. One that's a physical like mountain that's gonna blow, but one's the one that's like in the ground. Is this one in the ground?
They have most of it, but they have openings not far from that city that they, that are at the top of mountains that are active, like that have been erupting on and off for a while. And I think it was like last year that it made the news that people were going to tourists were going there just to watch these couple of lava columns that were just spewing out of the ground. Like you could see them in those pictures. It looks like legit fucking straight out of Star Wars. Like, like fissures or whatever they're called.
Look at that one.
Yeah, that's all part of that system.
Isn't that shit toxic to breathe in too?
Yeah. But you don't want to be on top of that or downwind breathing in any of that stuff because it's poisonous.
You don't want to.
There was a fucking documentary. You know what's a nightmare? There was a documentary that I watched. I can fucking remember the name of it. I think it was on Netflix or something else. And or maybe it was National Geographic, and it was about a group of tourists who got trapped on an erupting volcano island, and like a lot of them died, and some of them survived.
Oh, we watched it on this show, dude. We watched it on this show.
Did we watch it here?
Yeah, we watched it. I mean, we watched it previously, but you brought it up, and we watched the video.
Yeah, and the severe burns.
Yeah,
right?
man.
And then the helicopter flew in, and then some of those people got fucking burned, and there was a boat. They watched it happen. There were people with burnt flesh waiting on the fucking shoreline.
Hey, is that a
It was
thumbnail?
brutal. It might be. It might be that.
No, it's not. It's close.
But yeah.
It's the same one, different shot of it, I think.
But it's not the whole island, it's the bottom of it. So there could be, like you guys had that issue earlier in the summer with those Canadian wildfires.
Yeah, it was fucking.
This could be the same. This could be the same issue, or similar, maybe worse for Northern Europe.
I mean, they're not far away from. I guess they're kind of. I didn't realize
But what
how
do you
far
think
up
that
they were.
you think that column of smoke will make it to like Ireland, United Kingdom, Norway?
Yeah, they could definitely do some damage in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I think it'll
Norway,
blanket
Sweden, Finland.
Northern Europe. But Northern Europe has had a history of shit like that happening. Do you know there was like a 2-year fucking winter in like the late 1700s or the mid 1700s
I didn't know
or something
that.
like that? Or what the fuck was it? There was like a 2-year winter that the Northern Hemisphere got. That could have been caused by a volcanic event. Two-year winter. It's 17, I don't know, 17 something.
I don't see anything of it.
2-year winter in the Northern Hemisphere? No?
Yeah, no, I don't see.
That's what you typed in? 2-year winter?
Yeah.
Damn, that didn't pop up? I'm not making that up. They were like colonial fucking motherfuckers who lost crops for fucking 2 years.
Underwater volcanoes.
There's mad underwater volcanoes. They're all over the place. They think that that's how life on Earth started, or evolved by volcanic vents. Like not breathing oxygen or carbon, but nitrogen.
Yes. Basically, I was going to say something. I don't remember what. I'm fucking wrecked. I haven't did a dab or smoked this much fucking bud in so long. It's quite epic.
When I was up in New York last week and I stood high, just that was it. It's just is what it is. I couldn't fucking believe all of the fucking the weed trucks.
Oh shit! There's shit everywhere, bro. Everywhere. There's
Dude, just outright, just out there.
Dude, there's like 2 legal shops, recreational shops in New York City. 2 of them. There's more than 2, but there's like basically 2 good ones.
That have a license, yeah.
But they're if you want to get bud, they're everywhere else is illegal ones everywhere. Every block I go to, I pick up food at. It's like fucking Sazzies or Puff House
Zazas.
and
Zazas.
yeah, and there's like a Puff House and a Cloud World, and I'm like Cloud World, and I look inside, I'm like, oh, it's a fucking dispensary. It's crazy. They're everywhere, and they're all illegal. Savages.
Well, they're all trying to be legal soon, I guess, right?
I don't
They'll
know.
all be willing.
I don't
they'll
think
all,
any of them
They'll all be willing to pay
care.
taxes. You think they'll
I
all
don't
be
think
willing
they
to
do. I think they're just doing their thing until they close, until they get caught.
until they get shut down.
Where the fuck is it? I'm so fucking till they get caught.
Until. All right, y'all. Wednesdays
Wow,
and Sundays
I'm high.
at 9:30.
This is great.
Fall down the hole with us. 9:30 on
Wednesdays and Thursdays. How come I can't hear it? Oh, it's off. Wow.
Fall down the hole.
It
with
wasn't
us.
repeating the audio because it wasn't
9:30.
over there, but now it's over there. And how come I can't hear it? Oh, it's off. Wow. Wednesdays and
Fall down the
Thursdays.
hole
It
with
wasn't
us.
repeating the audio because it wasn't. Why'd you say Thursdays?
Over there, but now
it's over there. It said Wednesdays and Thursdays. No, it's Wednesdays and Sundays.
Wednesdays and Sundays.
Wednesdays and
Fall down the
Thursdays.
hole
You
with
wasn't repeating the
Thursdays.
audio because it wasn't. Thursday. Why does it keep doing that?
It's
Like
like
Wednesdays and
Thursdays.
Thursdays. No, it's Wednesdays and Sundays.
Pretty sure it's Wednesdays and
Wednesdays
Sundays.
and Thursdays. You wasn't repeating the audio because it wasn't. Thursdays. Why does it keep doing that?